Hi, and welcome to our next presentation, this time with Alcadon, and presenting we have CEO Sonny Mirborn in the studio today. And we are running a bit late, so with that said, Sonny, please go ahead with the presentation.
Thank you. Well, I've been the CEO of Alcadon Group for almost 3 years now. It's been an eventful time. I think we have a very bright future in front of us, and I hope to exhibit that today. I mean, during the pandemic that we are experiencing right now, it has become increasingly obvious for governments and individuals alike that we really need a strong digital infrastructure in society today. We are working from home. We need to access Teams, video meetings, Zoom. We want the whole family to be able to use or to stream films, to stream movies, music. And with the development we're seeing right now with increased amounts of data in society and autonomous cars, etc., that are going to further increase the amounts of data in society, we are going to need a more digitalized infrastructure, for sure. Now, a digital infrastructure, in essence, that is connectivity. And with connectivity, we say we need to be able to connect wherever we are, in whatever premises we are. It doesn't matter if it's in a hospital, an office, at home, or even in a cafe. So we need connectivity wherever we are. For that to function properly, we need a fiber network, a really built or rolled out fiber network across the whole society. We need 5G to handle these enormous amounts of data. And we also need storage capacity in the form of data centers across the countries. So with this said, Alcadon we were founded in 1988, and we have been present during all of these technological shifts in the market with 3G, 4G, now with the fiber rollout for the FTTH or broadband. We are going to be present with the 5G rollout. Interesting things are happening. And even if digitalization sounds like a very broad concept, our materials and our systems are necessary to enable this, to enable digitalization as a whole. If you take a look at our 4 major business areas, FTTX or fiber networks is by far the largest due to the extreme fiber rollout that we are seeing today. Here we offer complete solutions for a fiber rollout. Doesn't matter if it's broadband or 5G. It's fiber boxes, it's duct systems, it's fiber cables. Commercial networks, that's where we come from the beginning. We are talking about structured cabling systems to enable connectivity in all types of premises, data centers, hospitals, offices, railway stations, doesn't matter where it is. For a complete system like this, you need fiber cable, you need fiber boxes, you need outlets, you need copper cables, you need active components, you need passive components. So you need a lot of material, a complete system basically. And we can offer this. Our own system, the European cabling system, is today one of the leading systems in the premium segment in the Nordic region, which is, of course, an important aspect for us. And we also distribute several other manufacturers' world-leading systems on the Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish market today. Residential networks, basically you could say that a connected home, with all the data components, the electrical components that you might need for that, we can supply. And we have a deep cooperation with some construction companies where we supply everything needed for a connected premises or connected home. Services and training, that's basically where we do hiring of instruments, we do certification courses for installers, and today over 4,000 installers in Sweden and Norway alone have gone through and paid for a certification course at Alcadon and are certified to install our own cabling systems. Very good to create a stickiness, a customer loyalty in the marketplace. A brief picture of what we look like today. Most of our turnover today is from the Swedish market, but we are growing rapidly in all markets, especially Denmark and Germany, where we are experiencing, of course, high growth right now. You can see also that we've done quite a few acquisitions since we were listed in 2016. Most of our acquisitions have been of a larger character. I was going to say the latest one was 66 International in Denmark and Germany, but just a few minutes ago or half an hour ago, I think we acquired 66 International in Belgium as well. So we are looking to do acquisitions. We are looking to establish more of a European footprint until 2025, and we hope to be far more aggressive than we have been historically in doing acquisitions. Now, this latest acquisition is a rather small company, 3.7 million euros in turnover, profitable, about 300,000 or 250 to 300,000 euros in profit, in operating profit. We acquired this company at a reasonable multiple, and they are strong in structured cabling, commercial networks, data centers, but also in FTTX in general. And we hope over time to form a considerable presence in the Belgium and also the Dutch market with our assistance and the assistance of the minority owners of 66 International in Belgium. Otherwise, you can say that we are a professional distributor, even though we develop our own products and systems. But we have over 200 suppliers or partners today that we represent on our local markets. We also have almost 3,000 customers, so it's quite a fragmented customer base that we have. I usually also say that it's worth mentioning that of our 84 employees, most of them own shares in Alcadon, and our employees as one group owns about 16% of the company today, which is the best incentive you can get in essence. This was a little bit brief about Alcadon. If we look at our business model next, you can say that our business model have not changed much the last 15, 20, 25 years even. We are, in essence, a developer of our own systems, like European cabling systems or DC line systems to enable connectivity. This is about 25 to 30% of our turnover today. Locally adapted systems that we develop together with our customers. But we are also a professional distributor. We add value by representing some world-leading manufacturers on our markets. They are very well renowned. They invest hundreds of millions of dollars in R&D every year. By cooperating with them, by partnering up with them, we ensure that we do not miss a technical shift in the market. So having our own technical development or product development with distribution in combination, that enables us to have both flexibility and differentiation that is extremely important in our market. You could also say that everything we do is to be a competence center within network infrastructure. We develop solutions specifically for data centers, specifically for 5G, for industry, and for the purpose of making easier installations for our customers. And going back to our customers, almost 3,000 customers, we are not dependent on any one single customer. I think the largest customer the last time I looked was about 6% of our turnover. And you see some examples of them here. Instalco, Norlys, Bravida, Caverion, Transtema, very important customers of ours, but almost 3,000 customers, quite a lot. To do a deep dive in the FTTX or fiber networks market, you can see that this is of course supported by increasing amounts of data and the need for societies to develop a strong digital network, a strong digital infrastructure across society. This is going to be even more important in the future. We have tried to exemplify here in red the markets where we are present today. Of course, we didn't have time to add Belgium, but I will speak a little bit about that as well. Sweden, many people talk about Sweden as a completely mature broadband or FTTH market, but one have to remember that only 40% of the countryside has fiber today, and over 30% of the total investments needed to reach the government targets for broadband penetration remains. So there's a lot to do still on the Swedish market in terms of just broadband rollout. If you look at Denmark and Norway, somewhere in between the countries with the lowest penetration and Sweden, but the UK and Germany are, of course, extremely interesting markets here. In Germany, the growth rate has been extremely high the last few years, and it's going to continue. We have a very nice broadband market for the next 15 years in Germany, with plenty of room for a lot of players who knows broadband rollouts and have the right products. But we shouldn't also forget what a 5G rollout actually means in terms of fiber. With 5G, you have to provide a densification in society of a great number of antennas or base stations, and each base station needs fiber. So if you look at mature markets where the broadband rollout has already been going on for a long time and where they are starting to roll out 5G, you see that there is an enormous amount of fiber. You talk about 2 to 16 times more fiber than compared with 4G and the broadband rollout. So it's quite a lot. Now, if you add Belgium to this, you can say that if we were going to add a figure for Belgium, I think it would be closer to 1.5%. So Belgium is far behind, as is Germany and UK, when it comes to broadband rollout. And I think if you take half of 2019 and half of 2020, research done by the FTTH Council of Europe showed that Belgium had the highest growth rate in FTTH subscriptions during that period. So it's a fast-growing market that is going to grow rapidly for the next 5 to 10 years for sure. So FTTX, it's a very interesting market where we have a lot of solutions for broadband, but also for fiber to the antenna and cabling solutions for antennas that the telecom providers can purchase from us. So it's a very interesting market for sure. When it comes to our second largest area, commercial networks, this is an area not often spoken about, but it's our core business. We have been extremely strong here since the mid-90s. And as I said, we have a market-leading position in the premium segment in Sweden and Norway, and we are expanding into the Danish and German market as well. This is a market where no matter which time period you choose, you see a 7% a year on average growth with a high profitability for most players. And a very interesting sub-segment of commercial networks is data centers. Data centers are expected to grow with about 15%, 10 to 25% a year the next few years in the Nordics alone. And then we're talking about co-location and enterprise data centers, which is the sole focus of Alcadon. We have worked towards data centers for, I would say, the last 20 years, but we have focused especially a lot the last 3 years on data centers, and we have shown a growth rate of over 40% per year from low numbers. So it shows us that we know what we're doing and it works, and it's a very interesting market. When people talk about data and increasing amounts of data, you sometimes forget that 80% of the bandwidth is indoors, and that's where you need a structured cabling system or a commercial network. Looking at our financial development, we are proud to say that we have, throughout our history, shown black figures. We have always been profitable. We have been among the most profitable players in our industry in Northern Europe across our lifetime. We have always had a nice cash conversion over time. And the last few years, when the FTTH market dropped considerably in 2019, particularly in Sweden, we dedicated that time towards improving our logistical function, reducing our OPEX, and increasing our gross margins. By doing that, we came out as a more modern company, a company where we could really scale up, where we can focus on growth and let the profitability increase further. So we are in a good situation right now. And in Q3, we have shown quite good figures, I believe, over 90% top-line growth, almost 160% operating profit growth, much supported by our acquisitions, but we also had profit growth and top-line growth organically. So this is important to us to have a good mix there in between. But we're doing very well in Germany and Denmark, as evident by the recent press releases from shortly after the summer, of course. If I'm going to sum up why Alcadon is an interesting company, I would say, of course, supported by macro trends. But I think that the number one thing that I would like to emphasize is that we have extremely good employees, extremely inspired employees who rate us very highly as an employer. Most of them are shareholders. They are loyal over time. And that has been reflected in our customer loyalty. Most of our customers have been customers of ours for more than 15 years back. And we are not the cheapest player on the market. Our systems are comparably expensive, but we provide a high degree of value also with our solutions. I would stop there and say thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And as you said, you just released the press release before we entered the studio. But to begin with, just a clarification, what is the connection between 6X International that you acquired in the beginning of the year and 6X International Belgium that you acquired today?
The former owner of 6X International Belgium was a part owner of 6X in Denmark. So Susanne Stengade, who is now with Alcadon, basically founded the company together with that owner. But since 12 years back, there hasn't been any obvious relation between the two companies. They just kept the name.
Yeah, okay. And looking into the Belgian market, you said that the fiber penetration there was roughly 1.5%.
Yeah.
Could you say anything about the size in terms of households compared to Sweden or something like that?
I cannot give those figures today. No,
Okay.
really I cannot. But
Yeah.
what we've seen is that it's a really interesting market where a lot of players tend to scale up significantly. There is a scaling up plan for the next 5 years that is quite big. And we really needed to find a player who had a strong foothold.
Yeah.
We want them, usually our acquisitions, to be present in both commercial networks and FTTX, so we can scale up whichever area we want from time to time. And it gives a certain nice platform to build upon as well. And of course, given the history between the companies, we know a few people behind the company. We know the minority owners quite well, who are now minority owners. And we know some of the suppliers really well as well. So for us, it's a company that we know rather well.
And in terms of distribution versus own products for 6X International Belgium, what is the split there?
It's basically solely professional distribution.
Yeah.
They represent some globally very well-renowned players in Belgium.
Yeah.
And some of them we also represent in other markets as well.
Well, I guess we'll come back to the acquisition later on, but as you said during the presentation, in your Q3 report, you reported 8% organic growth overall. And if we look into the two different Nordic markets, it was 30% in Norway and flat in Sweden. Could you perhaps elaborate on what drove the organic growth in Norway and the expectations from your side on the Nordic market going ahead?
I can say after the pandemic, the Nordic market is still not very well. We still have a lot of problems. And the general installer market, it's still, you could say, flat or even declining in some areas. But what made us grow or even keep flat in Sweden was that in Norway, we had a great success with the telecom operators, where we have, you could say the two of them have become really big customers of ours on the Norwegian market. So basically, it has not been that visible that the installer market is today not doing that well. But for us, the main thing there is that, are we not losing market shares? Are we increasing our market shares? And do we have the right customer offer? The market will come back. So we're doing very well there. In Sweden, I would say that what enabled us to keep a steady level at 0% was the data center growth.
Okay.
So that is really doing very well, whilst the installing business is quite flat or even deteriorating a bit.
And as you said, especially in Sweden, the market isn't doing that well after the pandemic. And you have in the reports written that, as many other companies, you have had some challenges with the lack of components and delays in the supply chain. How do you handle the situation? And have you seen any improvements in this area?
I think that in the Q2 report, I wrote that I expected the market or the delivery chains to improve somewhat towards the end of the year. I was wrong. That has not happened.
Yeah.
It has not become worse, but it's still a very, very tough situation that we are fighting to manage every day. We have a strong purchasing department doing a really, really good job there, but it is a hassle. And sometimes the problem is not with us. We might even have the products or the systems in our warehouse, but other players delivering components for the same projects cannot deliver due to problems like in the Suez Canal or whatever it could be. And that makes the whole project being postponed. So it's a huge problem.
Yeah. And as you also mentioned during the presentation, this summer you announced a handful of larger order wins, both in Denmark and also in Germany. How are those progressing? And do you see a possibility for additional orders of the same magnitude going ahead, and also in Belgium now?
Well, it's difficult to say that one should expect orders of the same magnitude. These are really strong orders, which we were happy about. They show that we are competitive in these markets, but our focus now is on delivering on those projects and, of course, hunting new ones, but no promises made there. But you could say that we are on target. I mean, in the Danish market, we have exceeded expectations on the projects that we took. So that market is booming much, much more than we actually thought from the beginning. In Germany, it's much, much more difficult. They are experiencing much more problems there related to the increasing pandemic or problems related to the pandemic and supply chain issues that are making a lot of players, pausing the projects a little bit. So that's more of a hassle in Germany. But as I said, for us, the most important thing is that we are gaining market shares and doing the right thing in the markets.
Yeah. And one last short question before we end. Are you satisfied in terms of acquisition, or do you look to make further acquisitions?
We have a very nice pipeline, and as I've said before, we are looking to establish more of a European presence. This is our establishment now in Belgium is one step towards that direction, but we are aiming towards establishing in more markets and strengthening in existing markets.
Yeah, I think that was all we had time for today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And good luck going ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.